For almost 20 years, Arsenal FC has lived in the shadow of what it once was. A club built on beauty, passion, and pride that somehow became the story of what could have been. They've had brilliant players, magical moments, and flashes of greatness, but every time they got close, it slipped away. The Invincibles became a memory, the fans tired of promises, and for years, Arsenal's biggest enemy wasn't Manchester City, or Chelsea, or United. It was themselves. But this season, something's changed. The fear is gone. The belief is back. Arsenal currently lead the Premier League, their best start in years, with a squad depth that rivals any in Europe. They're stronger, smarter, colder, led by a manager who turned doubt into obsession, and a team that finally looks ready to finish what so many others couldn't. Because this time, Arsenal isn't here to compete, they're here to conquer. And for the first time in 2 decades, the Premier League crown doesn't look impossible anymore. It looks inevitable. For nearly 2 decades, Arsenal has lived trapped between glory and ghosts. Ever since the Invincibles walked off the pitch undefeated in 2004, the club has been chasing a shadow, a version of itself that seemed impossible to recreate. The Emirates replaced Highbury. Legends like Henry, Vieira, and Bergkamp gave way to generations still searching for their identity. And what followed was pain disguised as progress. Arsenal became the team that almost did it. Every season, the same cruel story. They'd start strong, play beautiful football, ignite hope across North London, only to collapse when the pressure hit its peak. Under Arsene Wenger, the football stayed elegant, but the dominance faded. Then came Unai Emery. Brief sparks of potential, quickly drowned by confusion and inconsistency. The worst part wasn't the losing, it was the acceptance of it. Arsenal went from being feared to being doubted, from a club that once set the standard to one that became a punchline. For the fans, it was heartbreak on repeat. They filled stadiums, sang, believed, and every year, heartbreak returned. The faces changed, but the story stayed the same. Arsenal wasn't losing because of talent. They were losing because of belief. And then one man, a former captain who knew exactly what the badge meant, returned with a vision. He didn't come to relive the past. He came to burn it down and build something entirely new. His name, Mikel Arteta. And his mission was simple: turn heartbreak into hunger and restore Arsenal to what it was always meant to be, a club of champions. When Mikel Arteta took charge of Arsenal, he didn't inherit a team, he inherited a mess. The dressing room was split, the confidence was gone, the fans had lost faith, even the players looked like they didn't believe in the badge anymore. Arsenal wasn't just losing games, they were losing their soul. But Arteta saw something no one else did. Beneath the chaos, beneath the noise, he saw potential. He wasn't just there to win matches, he was there to rebuild the very foundation of what Arsenal stood for. And the first thing he changed wasn't tactics, it was mentality. He demanded standards, respect, accountability, and made one thing clear: if you don't fight for this badge, you don't wear this shirt. Those words set the tone for a revolution. Overnight, comfort turned into competition. No one was safe. Players like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Mesut Ozil were shown the door. Not because they weren't talented, but because they didn't fit the new Arsenal. Arteta wasn't building around reputation. He was building around character, around hunger, around discipline, around belief. And that's when the transformation began. Young players, once overlooked, became the backbone of the club. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, William Saliba, names that once represented potential, now represent the future. The training sessions changed, the culture changed, even the way players carried themselves. It all started to feel different. Arteta turned every setback into fuel, every criticism into motivation, every defeat into data. He rebuilt Arsenal, not like a manager, but like an architect, carefully, patiently, ruthlessly. And as the months passed, Arsenal started to look more like Arsenal again, not the soft, fragile team of the past, but a new version, focused, fearless, and obsessed with winning. By the start of the 2025-26 season, Arsenal had invested over £250 million in new signings, and their squad depth became one of their strongest weapons heading into the title race. This wasn't just a rebuild, it was a rebirth, and for the first time in years, the rest of the Premier League started to take notice. The real turning point in Arsenal's story didn't come from a single match or a single player. It came from something far deeper, a tactical rebirth. For years, Arsenal had been known for playing beautiful football, but without a killer instinct. They would dominate possession, create chances, even dazzle, but when it mattered most, they faded. Arteta changed that. He brought a new kind of structure, one built on precision, discipline, and total control. The kind of football that doesn't just look good, it breaks opponents mentally. Every movement now had intention. Every pass had a destination. Every player had a role, and they all knew it. Arsenal stopped reacting to games. They started dictating them, and it wasn't about playing like Guardiola's City. It was about creating a version of Arsenal that could beat Guardiola's City. Arteta learned from Pep, yes, but he didn't copy him. He evolved the blueprint, blending the positional play of Guardiola with the defensive discipline of Simeone and the transition speed of Klopp. The result, a tactical machine, balanced, efficient, and ruthless. Odegaard became the orchestra conductor, directing the rhythm of the game, creating danger from control. Declan Rice added the missing ingredient, power, a player who could break lines, recover balls, and still arrive in the box. Saliba and Gabriel became the foundation, calm, confident, and commanding. A pairing that made Arsenal's defense one of the hardest to break in Europe. Even Zinchenko's inverted role changed everything. What looked like risk at first became innovation. It allowed Arsenal to outnumber teams in midfield, giving them a sense of dominance they hadn't felt in years. Every press was coordinated, control disguised as chaos, and that's what made it so terrifying. This 2025-26 squad has conceded just 3 goals in their opening 10 Premier League games, the best defensive start in club history. And on Europe's grandest stage, they've been even more ruthless. 4 Champions League games, 4 clean sheets, not a single goal conceded, not one. Against some of Europe's finest, Arsenal didn't just survive, they suffocated. Because this team can now win games in different ways. They can outplay you, outrun you, outthink you. Arteta has turned a young, emotional team into a cold, calculating system, a team that doesn't just play football, it studies it. And suddenly, Arsenal are no longer seen as a promising project, they're seen as a threat, a tactical powerhouse, ready to go toe-to-toe with Europe's elite. For years, Arsenal's biggest weakness wasn't their defense, it wasn't their attack, it was their mindset. The team had talent, world-class talent, but when pressure arrived, they cracked. Every fan knew that look, the fear, the hesitation, the collapse, but this Arsenal, they've changed. Arteta didn't just train footballers, he trained fighters. Players who don't run from pressure, they embrace it. You can see it in their faces. In Declan Rice barking orders when everyone else is exhausted. In Odegaard clapping his teammates after a missed chance instead of blaming them. In Saliba's calmness under fire, the kind that freezes time in the chaos of the Premier League. Arsenal used to crumble in the final minutes. Now, they own them. They grind out 1-0s, they win ugly when they have to. They play like a team that refuses to die. Because the truth is, champions aren't made in easy games. They're made in moments of pain, and Arsenal has had plenty of those. Every heartbreak from last season's title collapse, to that loss at the Etihad, to the critics calling them too soft, became fuel. And that fuel turned into fire, a fire that now burns through every player, every fan, every moment at the Emirates. The squad's mindset shifted this season with more clean sheets, more resilience, and fewer late-game collapses, clear signs that the old Arsenal fragility is gone. This young squad that once fell apart has become a machine, composed, ruthless, relentless. They've learned to suffer and to smile while doing it. Because Arsenal finally understands something they never did before. Winning isn't about perfection, it's about resilience. And this Arsenal, this new Arsenal, is built for war. For the past 5 years, English football has belonged to one man, Pep Guardiola. His Manchester City side has been the standard of perfection, precision, dominance, control. They broke records, they built an empire, and for years no one dared to challenge them. Until now, Arsenal, led by one of Pep's own disciples, has become the one team brave enough to stand in the storm. Because if Guardiola built the empire, Mikel Arteta is building the rebellion. What started as a teacher and his student has evolved into a rivalry that defines an era. Every match between them now feels like a chess game played at 100 miles per hour. Every decision, every pass, every duel, it's tactical warfare. But what makes this rivalry special isn't just football, it's belief. Manchester City has mastered winning. Arsenal is learning what it takes to dethrone them. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because City is polished, efficient, almost mechanical. But Arsenal plays with emotion, with chaos, with fire. They don't want to just win the Premier League. They want to take it from City's hands. The two clubs couldn't be more different. One fueled by money, experience, and dominance. The other by youth, hunger, and redemption. Yet both share one thing, an obsession with control. This season, Arsenal already hold a lead over Manchester City, and the rest of the league for the first time in years. They are the hunted, not the hunter. Every great football story is written not just by players, but by the people who believe when no one else does. And for nearly 2 decades, the Arsenal fans have done exactly that. They've carried the pain, the frustration, the heartbreak, and still showed up. Week after week, year after year, they've been through everything. The collapse of title hopes, the endless rebuilds, the memes, the mockery, the questions. Is Arsenal finished? And yet, through all of it, they never walked away. Because for them, Arsenal isn't just a club, it's a part of who they are. It's the father and son watching every match together, the kid wearing the red and white jersey to school, the chants echoing through North London streets on a cold night. It's the idea that no matter how far they fall, Arsenal will rise again. You can feel it now inside the Emirates. The silence is gone, the pulse is back, the Emirates breathes again. Every Saka goal, every song, every roar, because these fans aren't just watching football, they're living a resurrection. The club that once divided opinions has finally united its people again. The energy, the passion, the belief, it's all back. When Arteta walks to the sideline, 60,000 voices rise as one. When Odegaard points to the badge, they don't just see a captain, they see a symbol of hope. These fans remember the Invincibles. They remember Henry's elegance, Bergkamp's touch, Vieira's fire. But now, they're witnessing something new, a generation writing its own history. A team that fights, bleeds, and believes as much as they do. It's in the way they defend every blade of grass, in the way they celebrate every goal like it's the first. For too long, Arsenal was a story about pain, but now it's about redemption, and it couldn't be more real this season, because the fans who never stop believing are finally watching belief turn into reality. The noise is back, the fire is back, the Emirates is alive, not just with football, but with faith. This isn't just Arsenal returning, this is Arsenal reborn. Every great era begins the same way, quietly, painfully, and with everyone doubting it. For Arsenal, that moment has arrived. This isn't luck or form, it's the result of years of failure rebuilt into strength. A manager who refused to quit, a squad that turned scars into steel, and millions of fans who never stop believing. This Arsenal isn't built on nostalgia, it's built on resilience, belief, and redemption. The league that once broke them has made them unbreakable. The young team once mocked for inexperience now leads both the Premier League and the Champions League stage, with the maturity of champions. The players who once cried in defeat now celebrate with fire in their eyes. Every roar, every last-minute win feels like destiny closing in. Because this isn't another promising season, it's the one that changes everything. The fear is gone. The belief is back, and after 20 years, Arsenal stands at the edge of greatness, not as underdogs, but as the team the world has to stop and watch. What do you think? Will this finally be the season Arsenal take the crown, or will City, or even Liverpool, rise again to block their path to glory? I will be welcoming your thoughts below in the comments section. Thank you for being part of this journey.